Hey creatives, today I'm going to talk to you about how to make money flipping furniture. Specifically in this video, I'm going to talk about how to price the furniture that you have to sell. And I'm going to give you 4 different strategies for pricing, and then I'm going to hook you up with a little worksheet where you can calculate how much you want to charge and also keep a record of what you're making on each flip that you do. So look in the description below, click on that link and you can get that worksheet. If you like videos about painting, painting furniture, painting murals, flipping furniture, painting murals for profit, please subscribe to my channel because that's the kind of content that I do on this channel. And now without further ado, let's talk about the strategies for pricing that furniture so that you can get a good profit out of it, but also sell it quickly. The first thing I want to mention about this is that if you want to make money flipping furniture, like with any side hustle, it really helps if it's something that you're genuinely interested in. If you're somebody who likes to look at furniture that's for sale, if you like to check on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace to see what's out there and what it's going for, that's really going to help you because in general, you're going to start to get an idea of how much things are selling for, how quickly things are turning over, what stuff is the most popular. So it's really great, like with anything that you're going to do on the side to make money, if you're just interested in this naturally and you're going to enjoy browsing through, looking at furniture and getting a feel for what things are going for. Because probably the number one thing that you need to consider and the most important factor in what you can sell it for is just what the market price is in your area and what things are selling for, what people are asking and what they're actually getting within a reasonable amount of time. So what that means is spend some of your time checking on these things. Do searches based on the kind of stuff you think you want to sell, and that'll give you a feel naturally for kind of what you can sell something for, even when you see it at a garage sale or at a thrift store and think about flipping it. You'll already kind of have an idea of what you can make and whether it will be profitable. All right, so as I sort of alluded to before, method number 1 is comps. And what you're looking at is what are comparable things, just like in real estate, what are comparable things selling for? So what you want to do is, I just make a list. I look up several things under the heading that I'm planning to list it under, both on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. And if you have any Facebook groups you're in or other groups like Let Go or other places like that, check those and see what things are selling for. And then I just write down quite a few of them that I see. There will be just a range, will be all over the map, but I write down a bunch of them that look like they would serve the same purpose as the thing that I am going to be selling. And then what I do is I end up, after looking at all those, with a price range I'll write down, like, okay, I think this would sell between $95 and $125 is probably the sweet spot of where it's most likely to sell. So I will determine from all that kind of a range of where I feel like my piece goes, and it'll be 2 numbers, and somewhere in between there is what feels right to me. Method number 2, I'm going to call the KEYSTONE formula. The KEYSTONE formula basically is you calculate how much you paid for this piece and plus any other materials that you used to get it ready to sell, and then you double that number, because KEYSTONE is typically when a retailer doubles a wholesale price and that's what they ask for it, and the doubling is their profit. So this KEYSTONE formula, you would just double the amount of what you spent on it, and that's how much you would ask for it, and then you know you're doubling your money every time you sell something. I will say that this method works better if you are not doing a whole lot of work to the item itself. You're really almost just directly flipping it. I'm a painter, so I like to paint things, so I find furniture that's got messed up, surfaces, and I know that I can paint it and make it look pretty again, but there's a lot more labor going into that. And so this method does not work as well for somebody who's doing something like that. But say, for example, you found a dresser that cost $40. You spent $20 to get really cool new hardware on it and changed out the hardware, which isn't a super hard job to do. So you've got $60 and just a little bit of labor invested in this piece, and then you decide that you're going to double that to $120 and ask $120 for it. That is an easy way to just do a doubling of what you paid for everything, and then know that you're going to double your money. That's your idea, is you're going to double your money every time you make a flip. So that would be the KEYSTONE method. Method number 3 is what I'm going to call the labor formula. I feel like this one works better for people like me who like to paint a piece of furniture and completely redo it and make it look like a totally different piece of furniture. In this case, I will calculate the cost of the piece plus any other things I added to it, materials, any paint or things like that I used. And then I'll also take a calculation of my labor. So the amount of hours it took me to work on it times my hourly wage, and figure out what that labor hour was that I was putting into it, and then add those together, the cost plus materials plus my labor, and then that's the asking price. So you have to determine yourself what your hourly wage is, and when you're starting off, it's going to be a little lower than when you get better at this, and also you're going to be a little slower. That's another reason you probably have to calculate a little bit lower hourly wage. As you get better at it, you can charge more, you will have a better feel for the pieces, you can work faster, and so all those things will combine to make you be able to maybe raise your hourly rate that you're paying yourself in this theoretical calculation, and make that calculation of what you're going to sell it for. So that's what I call the labor method. All right, and the fourth method is what I call high-low. The high-low method for me is just another one that helps me make sure that I feel good about the sale and what I'm asking for it. And what I do is I ask myself, what is the lowest amount that I would accept for this piece and still feel like good about it, instead of feeling like, well, I just got to get it out the door, I lost money on that, that was one I shouldn't have bought, I won't do that again. You will have some like that, of course, if you just say, okay, I got to get rid of this piece, so I'll kind of take whatever anybody offers me for it. But the low here I'm asking myself is, what is the lowest I would take and still feel like, yeah, it was worth my time. It was okay. It was a pretty good flip. And then what is the highest number that I can imagine someone would pay for it? If I had my perfect buyer and somebody who looked at it and I had a great picture and they're, the person who has enough money to spend what I want them to spend, what's the high? So that gives me a range from the low to high of what I can feel good about and maybe hope to get for the price. And so depending on how long you are willing to hold on to the piece, you can start closer to that high number and see how it does, and then you can lower the price and relist it as you need to if you are willing to take more time to make the sale. If, on the other hand, you're in a situation where getting it out the door quickly is the biggest concern to you, getting the cash in hand quickly, then you're going to start a little closer to that lower number. But at least you have a range where you've already decided kind of where you're going to feel happy selling this piece. Now, just a few other notes about pricing and selling furniture that you're flipping. One thing to remember and just learn as you go is that if you instantly get multiple offers for something, or even offers above the amount when you tell them somebody else has already made me an offer, then that probably tells you that you listed it a little too low. And for next time, if you find, it also means you might want to find more pieces like that. And if you find more pieces like that, next time ask a little bit more. You've learned from that experience that you could ask a little bit more. On the other hand, it's never a bad thing to sell something quickly. The cash in your hand, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And so the quicker you sell it, that's the name of the game in flipping furniture. You don't really want to end up with a house full or a garage full of a bunch of furniture that you're sitting on waiting to sell for the right buyer to come along, and that perfect buyer who will pay full price. So eventually you're probably going to need to drop it anyway if it's not going quickly. So just remember, you got to kind of find that balance between getting it out the door quickly and getting a good profit on it. Another note about pricing is that if you are in a position where you can deliver the furniture to someone, you will sell it more quickly, and you'll sell it easier, and you probably can sell it for a higher price, because people have a hard time getting a truck or a vehicle and a person to help them move it. And so if you're able to do that and willing to do that, that can really help you in flipping furniture. And you should mention that up front if you're willing to do it, because it will make people, if they're deciding between your couch and someone else's couch, it will make them lean toward your couch if otherwise they're similar. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can just put free delivery on the ad. That will get people to read it very quickly. And you can price in, just calculate into your price the delivery price that you want to get. So you can ask more for it because you're going to deliver for free. Or the other way you can do it, if you want to keep your price competitive and low, is just list it at the price you were going to sell it at, not including delivery, but say that you will deliver for an additional fee. And then if they want you to deliver, then you add that additional fee in for delivery. So you can make extra money that way just from the delivery. Now, if you do this, I recommend that you ask the person to come and look at it at your house first before you deliver it to them. Sell it to them, make sure they want it and they're going to buy it, and they give you the money before you deliver it. Otherwise, they have no skin in the game. If you just say free delivery, they'll say, sure, bring it on over. And then when you get into their front yard, they'll go, no, it's not exactly as nice as I thought, or whatever, I'm going to pass. So you don't want to make that investment of taking it to someone's house unless they've made enough of an investment in you that you believe that they're a serious buyer and that they're going to pay you for it. So that's what I recommend. If not, and they feel like they're sure they want it and they sound like they want it, then you could ask them for a deposit or to pay you up front before you deliver it. Just make sure that they have some reason that they're going to buy it when it gets there. If they have no investment whatsoever, then you know how many no-shows that you can get on Craigslist ads or Facebook ads. And so this is kind of almost like a no-show, only where you do the work to show up at their house and then they decide they don't want it after all. So you don't want that to happen. So make sure that you just plan ahead for that. Now, as far as where to list the furniture to sell, I recommend Facebook Marketplace. Right now, I do feel like that's the best place to sell furniture that you're flipping. If you want to list it in multiple places, you can. You can list it on Craigslist, you can list it on LetGo, you can list it on Facebook Marketplace, but then you're managing like multiple sites at once, and it gets much more complicated to manage all your buyers and to make sure that you are putting the first person in line first and figuring out who gets what, and also getting reviews or getting things finished out after the sale. So it's really easier to keep it all within Facebook. If you want to expand the audience that's looking at it or make it a little easier for people to find, then there are subgroups or pages within Facebook. Like we have a local furniture selling page in my area that I'm also part of. And we also have a couple other groups that are appropriate, a local garage sale group that I'm a part of. And if you're a part of those groups, you can also list it in those. And Facebook often will go ahead and suggest that to you and allow you to list it on Marketplace plus in your subgroups that you're a part of. If you're in those, then it puts you in, essentially you're listing it in several places, kind of on several platforms, but all within the Facebook family. And so it's much easier for you to manage that listing and deal with the buyers and the inquiries and stuff. So that's what I would recommend if you're wanting to expand a little bit whose eyes get to see this piece when you list it. Okay, like I mentioned at the top of this video, check down below for a link to grab my free furniture pricing worksheet. It not only gives you a place to kind of run through all these scenarios, and I find it helpful to run through all of them to come at the actual number that I want to price it at. It's also a record-keeping worksheet, so it will help you keep track of what you bought, how much you bought it for, how much it sold, and that will help you start to see what things you made the best money on, what things you should try to do more of, which things you should probably avoid, how long different things took you, which platforms might work the best, which paints work the best if you're painting and chalk painting or fixing up your things. All that stuff will help you to get better at this as you go and to keep good records also financially so you know how much you're making on your flips. All right, I'd love to hear from you below in the comments if you have any other ideas or any other ways that you calculate pricing. Till next time, thanks a lot.